Hey everyone, JVD here from the Villains to Mann, bringing you another comic book review over Batman, the Rebirth series. I'm going to cover two one-shot stories that take place after the button. The first one is issue 23, called The Brave and the Bold, kind of a play on the long-time DC Comics title, The Brave and the Bold. They really don't do that much anymore, but it seemed back in the 70s, 80s it was really big, and it's basically a team-up book, kind of like the Marvel 2-in-1. But this story revolves around Swamp Thing and Batman, and honestly, based on the cover, I thought maybe it would do more with Poison Ivy than Swamp Thing, but it's a pretty solid one-shot. There's a really nice little poem, and you kind of, the death of this man singing this poem brings Swamp Thing to Gotham, and him and Batman wind up investigating this case of this dead man. And there's a lot of talk about rebirth and death and rebirth, which kind of leads Batman and Swamp Thing into a confrontation that may, I guess, lead on to some things in the future. Who knows? It's very cryptic what Swamp Thing keeps telling Batman. But a really good, solid book. And I would say it's probably, at this moment, the best issue of Batman until the next one. But both of these solid back-to-back one-shots. Really good reading. Now to kind of get to little spoilers, first off, there's a really violent opening to this, and it's this old man singing and this tune, this poem, I guess you would have, and he gets shot in the face twice and dies. And Batman shows up to investigate it, and there's like a small rock on a sheet of paper, and Swamp Thing grows out of it, and it's kind of a testament to how powerful Swamp Thing is in the DC universe, with his power over the green. And literally being in a swamp in Louisiana, he can bring himself from this. It kind of looks like a chunk of dirt or a piece of stone. And literally his hand springs from it and he grows from it. Batman's not surprised from it. Go figure. But anyways, they're going to track down this guy. And they wind up tracking to this place called Mooney Money's Pawn. The guy kind of looks like Guy Fairy or Fiery. The guy from the Food Channel, you know, spiky blonde hair, always wear a flaming shirt. Guy looks just like him. I guess that was kind of a little funny thing from the artist. But they find up that this tracker named Headhunter had chased this man down and killed him. And come to find out, this is Swamp Thing's father. And he had never really spoken of his father. And Batman had found out that he was sending these letters, but there was no letters that were ever returned. And Swamp Thing tells him, you know, he would send them to me and I would just let them sink in the mud. But during all this talk, there's this, you know, of life and death and rebirth. And the end of this is really good, and I'm going to quote this here from the book. Swamp Thing goes on, the letters, I didn't open the letters. I put them on the mud, watched them fall to the swamp. My father, you don't understand. And this is where they're arguing, because Swamp Thing has now killed Headhunter in front of Batman, and Batman is accusing him of using him. He's like, your father, you know, I don't understand. He's like, who do you think I am? Referring to his parents dying. Swamp Thing tells him, I think I must, you are the reason I'm here, and now that I know, I don't need to be here. And Batman keeps, you know, telling him, what, you know, this isn't over. He says, you have to tell me my mother and father are falling back into life. And then he leaves, and he calls him a coward as he leaves basically a pile of mulch and mud and leaves into the floor. So you get the idea that Batman's under the impression that maybe his parents are coming back to life. And, or maybe, you know, that's what Swamp Thing was here to tell him. Was that, you know, there's this rebirth coming, and we all know this thing with Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen is coming up in Doomsday Clock, which I don't think is the end of this whole thing. I think that's just part of the story, much like the button before this. So, anyways, this is a really good issue, and you're not really sure how this is going to play out. Are Batman's parents going to come back to life? Is DC really going to turn that leaf and bring them back? Which, you know, Batman had just recently met his father, Thomas Wayne, the Flashpoint Batman, before this. So, I'm curious to how all this is going to play out. But I really like Swamp Thing. I should probably read more of this new Swamp Thing stuff since the, DC New 52 and the Rebirth, because he has become, you know, phenomenally, unbelievably powerful. So maybe once I get caught up on a bunch of stuff, I'll start diving into that. But the next book is called Every Epilogue is a Prelude. This is issue 24. This is the big issue everybody was going nuts over. And honestly, this is probably the best issue of Batman I've read in a very, very long time. And it's not for how the book ends, which is a spoiler alert. Batman proposes to Catwoman. And you got to remember, she's been on the run since they went and tracked down Bane. And she basically just helped him defeat Bane before the button. Now he is proposing to her. And it's a really good story. Since I'm here into spoiler territory, because there's not a lot of stuff to talk about within these books without spoiling them, but it's the ring that he first caught her stealing, and they've made reference to this to the rooftop story, which I've covered if you want to check that out, you know, about how it was on a boat or it was on a street. But anyways, he kept that ring because he's known this entire time he would marry her, and that's really been a long time, even if you think of it not within comic book time, but just in general time-wise throughout DC, because Catwoman's been around just as long as Batman has. But anyways, what's really good about this story is you find out that Claire has been cured Gotham Girl by Psycho Pirate. So obviously, since the end of I Am Bane, where you've seen Alfred with the gun to Psycho Pirate's head, that obviously these 5 sessions has worked. And basically, they're having the conversation about she needs to make her decision if she is going to live a normal life or is she going to become a superhero. And basically, while Batman is talking to her, she turns the tables on him and turns the conversation towards him. And she keeps asking, what do you want? And he's like, well, I'm Batman. This is what I want to be. And she's like, well then, what is it that you want? Why are you so scared, be you? And basically he tells her that he's scared. And this is a side of Batman you don't ever see. And he basically, talks about how he is scared of a normal life because, this is what he's committed himself to. And this is all he's wanted. And this kind of throws back to the very beginning of this Rebirth series about his mortality and questioning his chances at a normal life. And basically you realize that he's very scared of this. Very self to commit himself to a normal life because, like I've always said, Bruce Wayne isn't Batman. Batman is Bruce Wayne. That is his alter ego. He is Batman. Bruce Wayne is the alter ego, and this is what this kind of plays into. And, so basically, this is what drives him to leading that, if he's going to have any chance of a normal life, this is what he does, and he proposes to Catwoman. Now, he's not proposing to me as Selena Kyle. He is proposing as Batman to Catwoman, because obviously she's a wanted criminal. So, yeah, and as at this time, because I'm very behind on Batman, the wedding issue comes out tomorrow. This is Tuesday that I'm recording this. The wedding issue comes out tomorrow, issue 50. I've stayed away from spoilers. I know DC has already spoiled it, and there's a lot of people mad talking about how they don't want to buy this book. So, I don't know why, but apparently this is going to lead on to big things. We know Catwoman is going to wind up with her own series. But seriously, if you read one Batman book out of this whole Rebirth series, read this, issue 24, just to hear the conversation between Batman and Gotham Girl about him being scared. It's really good. It's a lot of insight into the character, which Tom King has really done a really good job of, from, the I Am Suicide story to I Am Bane to the Rooftop story, even though as much as short as what it was, you're really getting into the deep psyche of Batman with what he's writing. And I can't talk enough about these last 2 issues, especially the issue 24, Every Epilogue is a Prelude. But I'm JBD. This has been my review for these 2 one-shot issues of Batman from the Rebirth series. Keep reading, guys.